Dude, I used to do so I don't buy any I've this year's the year I've stopped buying pencils and pens. I'm drawing a line in the sand. The kids are just they pick from the dregs whatever I find on the floor that I throw in my cart. But I used to do the ID thing where I would have them turn in an ID and then they could take the pencil and then they would when they were done with the pencil, they would get their ID back and we'd like exchange back. But the problem was then the kid would forget and I would forget, and then I would just end up with a stack of IDs in every period. So that backfired on me.
Ah, okay. I
Do you
don't
give
know.
your kids stuff fire? Do you give them the pencils or no? Do they just have to suffer?
I do. I give them one. When I'm nice, I have just a cheap box of pens that I keep in the room,
Sure.
like the cheapest pack of 50 possible. And then if that fails, I go with the golf pencils, the little baby mini golf pencils, because that's adequately, embarrassing for them to use, yet still technically a writing utensil that I'm providing them. So
I don't know. I'm trying to like build self-reliance, dude. Like you know, I,
Yeah.
I know I know. There's also, I feel like plenty of talented people who I remember being like, "Do you have a pen? Do you have a pen?" And then
yeah.
they grow up to be, some engineer or something. Like I don't
Still
know.
looking for their pen. Still
It's
looking for a pen.
right, right. Still, we'll have like pocket full of pens. And still like, "Do you have a pen?" And then does like whatever. So I don't know. Given all the other stuff that we're doing, it's just like whatever. The interesting thing is at the end of class, here's the interesting thing. At the end of class, they will try to give the pen back to me. And I'm
Mm.
like, well, don't you need it for the rest of today? Like, why
Yeah,
don't you
they're gonna
just
come
keep
to
it for the
my
rest of
class and ask
today?
for
And
one.
then they're like, no, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, I do recall
Like,
they'd
well,
be like
why don't
they'd
you keep it? I want you for the rest of the year. Why don't you do
Yeah.
yep, definitely have had to say that multiple times where they take my pen and they're like, here you go. And I'm like, well, don't you need it for the rest of the day? And they're like, yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm like, just take it. And then they fight me and they're like, well, I don't want it. And I was like, I don't know. It's sometimes it's a losing battle, and I'm just like, give me my pen back.
Yeah. And then yeah. So it's one of those things where yeah, I'm not happy about it, but it's
It
more
is
of
what it is.
yeah,
There's some, like I always say, it ain't never that serious. It is
no,
just never that serious.
no.
But my favorite is that you know me, I'm very organized and I love my pens and my pencils and my special ones. If I didn't have like extra pens in the class, like let's say I needed to re-up, or restock actually, restock, I would let them borrow my really nice pens, but
Oh God.
I always made it a big deal. Like I literally would be very loud and be like, "This is my favorite pen. Do not take it because I will look at your schedule and I will go find you in your next class and I will get my pen back." And I made it a big deal to be like super dramatic about it, so I would get my pen back. And it worked 99% of the time. 99% of the time, I always got my special lovely pens back.
I would never. I could never. I would never give a kid one of my if I had I don't have nice pens at school, but if I did, that's appalling to me.
Yeah, I think I just instilled a little bit of the Mexican mom fear in them, and I think they're like, all right, I got to give this crazy lady her pen back, or else she might just track me down. Which I would, I definitely would. I think though 1% of the time that did not work, I did actually look for the student, and I got my pen back.
Did I tell the aircraft story, the aircraft carrier story to you guys on the podcast ever?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
So
I
this
think I've
is
been
my
wrong this.
aircraft carrier story. So this is part of why I don't want to do pencils anymore. This was actually years ago. The one time I ever went on a business trip for school, I got brought by the organization that created my freshman seminar class to San Diego to help them. Actually, I didn't even help them present. I was there on behalf of the curriculum that they like sort of stole from me. Um, and so I basically created their talking circle method. Like they had the idea and then I executed it and then they just used my materials and all I got out of it was a trip to San Diego. It doesn't matter. I'm not bitter. Um, but I get to there was very little free time, but for a little bit of it I went to the whatever aircraft carriers down there that you can tour. and I went super early. And dispersed throughout the aircraft carrier are veterans of various wars that served on aircraft carriers. Not necessarily this one, but they've served on an aircraft carrier. And they kind of ambush you. I was like all alone, and I like wandered into like, I don't know, like a bunk room or something, and this guy materialized. And I didn't really want to chat, but I could not chat with him, you know. It's just like me and this like 100-year-old man in like a little bunk room on an aircraft carrier, and he wants to, you know, tell me about something. And I don't know how it came up, but he's like, you know, most of the young men on this aircraft carrier were barely 18 years old. And I was like, that's crazy, man. You know, my students are around that age and they literally never they can't even bring a pencil to class. I didn't really care that much. Now I care, but I didn't even really care that much. I'm just making small talk. And the guy like looks at me like dead in the eye and he's like, well, I find that given the right circumstances, young men can always rise to the occasion. And so ever since that moment, I'm like, this is where between this and then recently my therapist told me to stop giving out pencils. I'm like, I'm over. You can pick the pencils off the floor or ask your neighbor. I don't know. I'm over it. And you know, the no backpack boys like rock up and you know, they have nothing, no pencil, no paper, day in and day out. And again, fire, they don't keep it if you give it to them, you know. Or now I have kids that want me to hold on to their papers for the day. Do you have this? They do it like their bell ringer where we use the same page all week. They want me to hold on to it over the course of the week and give it back and forth to them each day. So I don't know. This is just, it's been bothering. I think it's been bothering.
I love this though. I love this new Eric era, like this no pencil Eric.
I told students, you know, I had a student teacher at the start of the year. I said, when she's gone, I'm going to come back and be really mean. I said, this is the beginning of my villain arc. I said to this girl in the media center, I was like, this is it. I'm going to come back. I'm going to be real mean. And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, no, you won't. And then walked away. So
It's hilarious. Well, the meanness starts with the no pens and the no keeping the papers. Because I know I had a lot of students who would want me to keep their papers. And I'm like, I'm not keeping your paper. You can keep it somewhere in the classroom, but if it gets tossed, it gets tossed. I don't know what you want me to do.
You do it for the one kid that needs like extra help, right? You know, there's some kids where I think that's legitimately, you know, a valuable thing, but then suddenly everybody wants it and you got a stack of 10 papers.
I know. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. It's a no for me.
Yeah.